Hi, StoryFilm here, and thank you for clicking the video. Today, I am going to tell a story about a 2021 American superhero movie based on Marvel Comics called Spider-Man: No Way Home. Before we begin, get yourself something to eat and drink, find a comfortable place, and enjoy the story. The movie opens in New York, where J. Jonah Jameson reveals Peter Parker as Spider-Man. Peter grabs MJ to escape the shocked crowd of New Yorkers who really believe he orchestrated the London drone attacks from Mysterio. Peter swings his way with MJ to escape the crowds, but they are swarmed by newscasters. They swing through the subways and manage to escape. Peter and MJ make it back to the Parkers' apartment, where Aunt May and Happy have just broken up.
Peter? Oh no. Oh god. Oh no. Peter?
I don't know what to do.
Peter? Peter?
While Peter is trying to figure out what happened to May and Happy, they see news that Peter's identity has been revealed, and helicopters outside the apartment. Peter has no choice but to comply with the authorities. Peter, MJ, and Ned are questioned by police about their alleged involvement in terrorist activities. MJ and Ned defend Peter, but he manages to find a lawyer to help him get the charges dropped, a blind lawyer named Matt Murdock.
How did you just do that?
I'm a really good lawyer.
Although Peter tries to return to a normal life, he is pursued by people who think he is either a hero or a menace. Peter tries to make it work with the assurance of his friends. They focus on their college applications, but they are all rejected due to recent events. Even their target school, MIT, rejects them all. Peter feels responsible for his friends' lives being ruined as a result of their association with him. Peter visits the New York Sanctum to meet Dr. Strange and ask him if it would be possible for him to turn back time to prevent people from learning his secret identity, but Strange says he no longer has a time stone. He then comes up with an idea for a spell that might set things right, although Wong warns Strange that the consequences could be catastrophic. After he leaves, Strange ignores Wong and takes Peter to a lower level, where he begins casting the spell to make everyone forget that he is Spider-Man. Peter begins to make changes in the middle of the spell, as he still wants MJ, Ned, May and Happy to know that he is Spidey, and this causes the spell to destabilize and create a brief rift, but Strange manages to bring it under control. When Peter mentions that he didn't even contact the MIT administrator to talk to them about reconsidering for MJ and Ned before asking for the spell, Strange kicks Peter out of the sanctum. Peter contacts Flash, who claims to be Spider-Man's best friend and helps Peter try to reach the administrator of MIT, who is on her way to the airport and is going across the Alexander Hamilton Bridge. Peter makes it there through a traffic jam and begins to talk to the administrator, but his spidey senses begin tingling. Suddenly, mechanical tentacles begin bursting from under the bridge, and people begin to flee from their cars.
Hello, Peter.
Hi? Do I know you?
Peter tries to save the administrator, but Doc Ock keeps attacking him. When the admin's car crashes over the bridge, Peter manages to web it up safely before Doc Ock catches him under the bridge and rips off a piece of the Spidey suit's nanotech, which attaches itself to his tentacles.
You're not Peter Parker.
I am so confused right now.
However, thanks to the suit's programming, Peter can control the tentacles and uses them to pull the admin up to safety. She tells Peter that he is a hero and that she will talk to the board about MJ and Ned's applications as well as his. Just then, a cackling figure throws a pumpkin bomb onto the bridge and blows up some cars. Norman Osborn, aka the Green Goblin, rides in, and Otto recognizes him, but Peter is suddenly mysteriously teleported to an unknown place.
Doctor?
Strange shows Peter that he has created prison cells in the Sanctum, where he keeps Otto and Dr. Kurt Connors aka the Lizard. Strange says that because of Peter's tampering with the spell, People from other multiverses who know Peter is Spider-Man have broken through.
Watch this. Do you know a Peter Parker who's Spider-Man?
Yes.
Is that him?
No.
See?
Strange gives Peter a magic gauntlet that allows him to capture the multiverse figures, and Peter brings in MJ and Ned to help out. Strange allows them to help from the basement of the sanctum. As they try to locate the others, Otto says that it is impossible for Peter to see Norman, since he died years earlier before Otto became Doc Ock. Peter swings out at night towards a field with huge electrical towers. He witnesses Max Dillon aka Electro siphoning energy from the towers, and when he calls out to Max, he begins firing electrical bolts at Peter. He is protected by Flint Marko aka Sandman, who remembers Peter Parker in his universe, but Peter has to explain that he is not the Peter that Flint knows. Peter then rips off the charges from the tower to bring Max down with the help from Flint. Max's formerly blue glowing body returns to his normal appearance. Peter then uses the gauntlet to send Max and Flint to the holding cells. Somewhere in the city, Norman snaps out of his goblin persona and smashes his helmet before running away. May calls Peter and tells him that someone from another universe is at her workplace. Peter rushes to his aunt and finds out that Norman is looking for his help, and May encourages Peter to help Norman. Jameson continues reporting against Spider-Man on his show, and he gets word from his guys about Peter's location to try and catch him for a big story. Peter brings Norman to the sanctum, where he recognizes Otto. Flint notes that both Norman and Otto are dead in his universe, while the lizard recognizes Max because of his previous nerdy appearance, and Max acknowledges the lizard's rampage in New York, trying to turn everyone into creatures like himself. Strange then comes in with a relic called the Machina de Cadavers, which contains the botched spell and is to be used to send the villains back to their universes. However, Peter is against Strange's plan after learning that some of the villains were fated to die fighting Spider-Man.
It's their fate.
Come on, Strange, have a heart.
I'm sorry, kid. If they die, they die. Don't.
With the help of MJ and Ned, Peter escapes into the street with the relic. However, Peter is caught by Strange and he separates Peter's spirit from his body, but his reflexes help him dodge Strange and he is able to pull himself back together to continue his escape. Strange then drags Peter into the mirror dimension, while Peter is still trying to convince Strange that there must be a better way to settle things without letting the villains die. When Peter realizes that the mirror dimension is like geometry, he is able to find a way to trap Strange in the web and secure the relic, and take his sling ring before escaping and leaving Strange there. Peter proposes an alternative plan, where he will cure the villains of their corruptions before sending them home to avoid their fate.
Trust me, Peter. When you try to fix people, there are always consequences.
He leaves the relic with MJ and Ned, who have the sling ring on his finger before taking the villains to Happy's apartment, where he finds the necessary components to get the job done. Peter shows them a Stark fabricator that will make what they need, but Max is attracted to the energy given off by the arc reactor. With Norman's help, Peter develops a new chip for Otto that allows him to control the tentacles instead of the other way around. After being cured, Otto returns the nanotech to Peter's suit. Later, Peter gives Max a device that will drain the electric power from his body. As Peter's plan seems to be going well, his spidey senses tingle again.
Peter? What's wrong?
I don't know. May?
What is it, Peter?
What's happening?
Trusting 100% on his Spider-Man senses, he catches Norman turning into a goblin to sabotage the plan. The Green Goblin, who has now taken over Norman's body, convinces Max to embrace his power and refuse the cure.
May, run.
Instigated by the Goblin's instigation, Max pulls the device from his chest, grabs the reactor arc, and throws Otto out the window, but he manages to escape. May grabs the goblin's antidote and runs away, while Max and Flint retreat and go their separate ways as the lizard breaks out of the truck he was in. Peter fights Goblin as the villain smashes him through the floors of the building. May sneakingly try to inject Goblin with the antidote, but it doesn't work, and Goblin uses his glider to attack May. After throwing a pumpkin bomb with his psychopathic face, he flies away while firing pumpkin bombs at the news crew and police outside. May gets up and goes to Peter. He blames himself for this and should have listened to Strange, but May tells him that he did the right thing and reminds him.
And with great power, there must also come great responsibility.
They start to leave, but May realizes she has been badly hurt. Peter stays by her side as she dies. Happy arrives and sees May dead as the SWAT team comes to surround the building. Happy tells Peter to run away as he is arrested and the SWAT team begins to shoot at Peter. The news reports May's death, with Jameson blaming Spider-Man, and Peter feeling immense guilt over it. At Ned's grandmother's house, MJ and Ned try to use the sling ring to find Peter. Ned manages to get it to work and finds Peter, but to their surprise, this Peter is completely different from the one they know, along with his suit.
Who the hell are you?
I'm Peter Parker.
This other Spider-Man convinces MJ and Ned that he is Peter Parker.
Prove it.
Prove what?
That you're Peter Parker.
I don't carry an ID with me, you know. I opened the wrong portal to the wrong Peter Parker.
Yeah, I guess you just keep doing it until we find the real one.
Ouch.
When Ned tries again, he finds another Peter Parker, who he thinks is just a regular guy.
You're Peter.
Yeah. Peter Parker.
The two Spider-Men meet and start attacking each other for no reason. After this nice to meet you moment, Peter says that he tried to find the Peter of this universe to help him. The same goes for the other Peter. Since MJ and Ned don't know where to find him, the two Peters figure he must be somewhere they usually go to get away from their problems. With this information, MJ knows where to find him. MJ and Ned find their Peter on the roof of the building where they usually hung out together. The other Peters come out and try to talk to Peter, but he won't want to hear it, as he's now consumed with rage and hatred for the Goblin. Since there are now 3 Peters, let's just call them Toby Peter, Andrew Peter, and Tom Peter. Toby Peter brings up how he wished that the man who killed his Uncle Ben would die, but he didn't feel any better when he got his wish. Andrew Peter mentions his guilt for failing to save Gwen Stacy. When Tom Peter finally realizes what his variants have been through, he knows that he cannot allow May to die in vain. The 3 Peters, along with MJ and Ned, continue to work on making the cure, while also bonding and being impressed by each other's unique abilities.
Whoa! That came out of you.
Yeah. You can't do that, huh?
No? How on earth does...
After the cure is ready, Tom Peter calls into Jameson's show at the Daily Bugle to inform all of New York and assure them that he will fix the mess he has made, and to lure the villains to the Statue of Liberty with the relic as bait. While waiting for the villains to show up, the Peters talk about other past experiences and the craziest villain they have fought so far.
Yeah, I fought an alien made out of black goo once.
Oh, no way. I fought an alien too. On Earth and in space.
Oh.
I'm lame compared. Like, I fought a Russian guy in a rhinoceros machine.
Andrew Peter says that he is lame compared to the other Peters because he has never fought aliens, but the other 2 assure him that he is still amazing.
Just to take it in for a minute.
Yeah, I can take it in. No, I can take it in.
You are amazing.
I can take it in.
You are amazing.
Thank you, yeah, thanks.
Will you say it?
No, I kind of needed to hear that. Thank you.
Soon, Sandman, Lizard, and Electro show up and start fighting the Spider-Men. While the heroes try to administer the cures, they keep getting knocked down. They decide to attack specific targets, and the 3 Spideys swing together in action. They decide to cure Sandman first, and Toby Peter lures him to the top of the Statue of Liberty, while Tom Peter and Andrew Peter are chased by Electro and Lizard. With the help from the other Spider-Mans, Toby Peter manages to cure Sandman so that he can become Flint again, and Toby Peter promises to bring him home to his daughter. After Sandman, they try to cure Electro, but he proves to be strong even against 3 of them. Lizard chases MJ and Ned when he sees the open portal, causing them to run out onto the scaffolding. Tom Peter manages to catch Lizard and turns him back into Dr. Connors. Meanwhile, Toby Peter and Andrew Peter have trouble fighting Electro, but Otto reappears and helps them by removing the arc reactor with his tentacles and placing the cure on his chest. Ned opens a portal to get to safety, but somehow Strange gets out from it and he watches as Tom Peter manages to cure the villains.
Did you just open a portal?
Yes, sir, I did.
Tom Peter introduces his variant to Strange, and before he can use the relic, Goblin comes flying in with his glider for the attack that causes the scaffolding to collapse and MJ falls over the edge. Tom Peter tries to save her, but the glider hits him. With the memory that haunts him for failing to save Gwen, Andrew Peter jumps in and saves MJ, and he briefly appears to feel momentarily redeemed for Gwen.
Are you okay?
Tom Peter uses one of Goblin's bombs to destroy the glider and crash it onto the collapsed Cap shield. He throws the Goblin to the ground and begins to beat him furiously. He then grabs the glider and tries to kill him, but Toby Peter comes in and stops him. Goblin stabs Toby Peter in the back and starts laughing at Tom Peter for failing to save May, but he injects him with the cure thrown by Andrew Peter and completely removes Goblin from Norman's body, and he feels great remorse for what he has done. The destruction of the relic and the release of the spell opens a crack in the sky which more potential villains are about to break through the multiversal barriers, and Strange says he cannot stop them from breaking through. Tom Peter then suggests a final spell where people will not only forget that he is Spider-Man, but also that they no longer know him at all. This means that even Strange, MJ, Ned, and Happy will forget who Peter is, but it's the only way to set things right. Peter says goodbye to his variants with a group hug in which they all acknowledge each other as brothers, and he goes to MJ and Ned to tell them what has to happen. Ned says a tearful goodbye to his best friend, while Peter and MJ profess their love for each other before he leaves. Afterward, everyone returns to their universe. A few weeks later, Jameson continues to slander Spider-Man in the media, but now as a mysterious person in a tight suit whom he calls a coward for hiding his true identity behind a mask. One day, Peter goes to the cafe where MJ works to find her and Ned and plans to reveal himself. They are still friends and have both gotten into MIT. Peter talks briefly with MJ before leaving and decides today is not the time to tell them both about him. Later, he visits May's grave, where Happy, who has no memory of Peter, is also present, and asks how Peter knew her.
Through Spider-Man.
The movie ends as Peter returns to his new rented apartment, where he uses a police scanner to listen in on any criminal activity. Although he is now alone and no one has a memory of him, he continues to fulfill his duties to protect New York as a friendly neighborhood Spider-Man. Thank you for watching. Like, share and comment below if you like the recap and subscribe for more video.